Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all. Family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi Project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today's honored guest is Ehmandah Ramsey, who is an entrepreneur and an extraordinary woman that empowers others to live their life on their own terms. Please welcome her. And Ehmandah, please tell us, who are you and what do you do in your own words?
Well, thank you so much, Yegi, for having me today. I'm super excited to be a guest on your podcast and also to share a little bit of my story. So I'm Ehmandah Ramsey. I am an entrepreneur, a speaker. I'm the founder of She Stories. And what I do is I help women to rest and recharge so they can show up fully in life and in business. And that's just a little bit about what I do. And I'm excited to jump into the conversation.
Wonderful. So tell us more. What is She Stories?
Sure. Well, She Stories is a storytelling and wellness community. All of our stories are used to transform women's mental health. I started She Stories back in 2017. And I started it because I am a survivor, a thriver of domestic violence. I was in a domestic violent relationship with my husband. And through my experience, me leaving that relationship, becoming a single mom, I found that I was holding all of my trauma, my pain, and my hurt and my stories from everyone, because I was afraid of being judged. I came from a really great 2-parent family household. My dad was a pastor. I grew up in church, and I didn't want to tell anyone that I was going through this domestic violent relationship, because how can I, that came from a great home, right?
Hard. Yeah, it's so hard to share something like that, because you're also at disbelief. And sometimes I feel like when we do admit to these things, we feel like, okay, now it's real. Now everybody knows. Or how are they going to look at me? Are they going to judge me for maybe even trying to stick it out in this relationship or in this situation? So I totally get it.
Yeah. So I was, fear of being judged, dealing with a lot of shame, as well as still trying to protect him, trying to protect my family, protect my daughter. So I never shared my story. I kept it all in until he died when my daughter was 13. Then that was when I started to share. So 13 years, I carried this heavy weight of my story. But after probably a few years after my daughter's father passed away, I said, you know what? I want to create a space for women where they can be validated, seen, and heard. Not that I couldn't, but at the time I was afraid.
You just were not ready.
I weren't ready. Yes, I wasn't ready. But I said, let me create this space where I can hold space for women and allow them to do it. And it was just all based on my experience in church, being a pastor's kid. I love that. In our church, we had this thing called testimony service, where every first Sunday, one of the older people in church would start with a song, and then they would jump right into how, they've overcome and how they've been delivered, or how they're victorious. Beautiful. Yes. And in those stories, as a kid, I didn't see the value of hearing those testimonies. But after I went through my trauma, my domestic violence, I was like, you know what? I could do the same thing. Those stories that I heard back then inspired and empowered me. I could do the same thing for women. And so I started She Stories. Yeah.
I love that. Honestly, you don't know how many people your stories touch and how encouraging and motivating it is for people to hear that they're not alone. Somebody else went through a similar situation and they turned out okay. They overcame it. It just gives us hope, faith, and kind of almost like a connection with our human side. So it's so beautiful to share. And that's also why I love doing this podcast and getting to know other amazing people, because it really does help all of us get through life. We all have crazy things we go through and traumas and amazing times as well. But it's so nice during our low points to have a space space to share and space to listen, space to connect. So thank you for doing that for the world. It's so needed.
Yeah. And like you said, we feel like we're the only ones going through this and no one knows, this pain or this thing that I'm dealing with. But the moment that we find the courage, because it takes time to actually share, even if it's just with one person, what you're going through, that person can be the individual that shares their story, and that there's commonality. You're at ease. You can find hope and inspiration and empowerment knowing that you can get through it too.
Yes, that's wonderful. So tell us more about the She Stories. Where can people listen to these stories? How can they connect with you and, become part of it?
Sure. Well, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and of course our website, shestories.co. We do storytelling nights. And the different thing about our storytelling events is we want to protect the women. We sometimes do it for men, but specifically for women, we want to protect the stories, keep it confidential. So we don't stream our stories, but we do digital storytelling. But the storytelling nights are very confidential because we're holding space. And we also have a therapist that's there to guide the women through the triggers that may experience, as well as offer them resources. So you can find us online, find us on socials, catch a storytelling event. It's so great that we're going to be expanding and doing a little bit more this year. So if you want to be a part of the community, if you want to share your story online, just message us and we'll connect with you.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And we'll link all of that below so people can find you. Now, take us back even more. So how was it on the entrepreneurial side? So obviously we all, even when you have a passion to share this community, to share and make the world a better place, help people, right? But at the end of the day, I know we still also need to make money. That's a real big part of being an entrepreneur, life, living, right? You have a child, we got to provide. So that's the reality of it, because it does sound, it sounds nice to just want to help and give back to the community. But for somebody like you who really had, did this from your heart, how is it, or how was it starting She Stories and also finding a way to make money along the way? Did you also have another full-time job?
Right.
Did you find a way to monetize your passion and also help? Because both are very, very important in life. And I think we do need to have the lucrative financial side of it in order to also help people.
Yeah,
Can you
of
talk a little
course.
bit about your thoughts on that?
Sure. At the end of the day, we are impacting people, but we do have to make income. And that, of course, with our gift brings us influence, impact, influence, and income. So with me, when I started She Stories, coming out of that DV relationship, I had already started my journey of being an entrepreneur because I'm a musician, right? I'm a musician. I sing, I play. Teach vocals, do vocal production, do background singing and all of that. And so around that time, I had already started to begin that business, being a entrepreneur that provides music services. So I was playing at funerals, playing at churches, doing worship consulting, singing backup, putting out music, performing on my own. And that was like my first experience as an entrepreneur. I was like, wow, I have this gift. I can make money from this gift. And me using my gift of music was able to support me and my daughter. I was able to buy my first home and just be the woman that I wanted to be on my own terms.
I love that so much. And then you were able to put your time and passion into helping with the She Stories. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of icebreaker questions just for fun so we could get to know you a little bit more. And I'm going to pick it randomly from my table topics card.
Okay.
So let's see what we get.
Yes.
Okay. What's your favorite part of Thanksgiving dinner?
I think my favorite part of Thanksgiving dinner is we keep it old school. We have a tradition where we're all sitting around the table and each person, chosen family, shares what they are thankful for. It's such a beautiful moment that my mom started and we continue.
I love that so much.
I love it. It's so old school. People don't do it anymore. It sounds like it's, so preschool and elementary, but
it's actually make my family do it too. I love it. Yeah, I do. Even with our friends, if we're a small group and we do like a friends
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, I make everybody do it. Just they know I'm cheesy like that. And I make people even do their goals and dreams around New Year's if we get together. And they laugh at me, but they all enjoy the process.
Oh my gosh, I am the same way. Wow, that's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, I'll get kind of like the attitude, but then they'll get into it. It's pretty funny too.
Right. And then like you have the introvert people that come to Thanksgiving, they're like, oh my gosh, I really gotta say something.
Yeah, we will have like a little bit of alcohol and
Right, right.
like get things rolling sometimes.
Take another sip. Your turn is coming.
Awesome, awesome. Now, this is a question I also love asking my guests because it's interesting to see your answers. If you had a magic wand and you can change anything in the world, anything, first thing that comes to mind, what would it be and why?
That's a really good question. If I had a magic wand and I can change anything in the world, what would it be? I think it would be for people to really see who they are truly are and what they're called and gifted to do, and not to look at others and compare themselves and just launch, just go.
Really look and figure out who you are and what your gifts are.
Yeah.
As a coach or as a speaker from your background, how would you advise people to kind of try to figure out their gifts? I think when I was a little bit younger too, it took me a long time to figure out what I even wanted to do with my life. There are a lot of options. You get out of high school, you got to pick a major and all this, and you just kind of like pick something, but you're not quite sure. A lot of people end up changing their majors, and then a lot of times we change careers. We're happy, we're unhappy, we think we're good at something. But how would you say, like, where would somebody start if they're like, okay, a gift? Like, sometimes entrepreneurs get into business just because they think it's a good opportunity. They can make money. It's a hot market, or somebody tells them buy this, a franchise and all these things. But I love approaching it with the gift aspect also, because naturally you would be better at that business or whatever you're doing career. But I love the way you put it. So how would somebody go about trying to figure out what, they're calling their gift or who they really are?
Yeah. I think one of the first things a person can do is to look back at your childhood. Right. And see where you can connect the dots. Look back at your childhood. What did you really love when you were a kid? What did you enjoy doing? What really made you happy? And then as you move on, as an adolescent, as a teenager, as a young adult, can you see the connecting dots of some of the things that you did when you were a child, as a young adult, and then now as an adult, that bring you joy, that excite you, that you're just naturally good at, that is effortless for you? That is your gift. You can start there. But what brings you joy? And like you were saying, Yegi, like a lot of times we choose careers because, I want to be a doctor because I can make a lot of money. I want to do this because, this is the hot thing to do. But is that thing going to bring you joy at the end of the day? Will you be successful in it, not just financially, but emotionally successful? Mentally successful doing this? Or is it just so you can get a check or make some money or secure the bag? So look back at your childhood, see where the connecting dots are. What is the thing that you are naturally good at that you can do effortlessly? That is the beginning stages of you discovering what your gift or your calling is. For me, when I was a little kid, Yegi, I used to have like this fake little restaurant where all the kids in the neighborhood would come to, right? I just loved it. My sister would tell me all the time, you always wanted to have a party. You love having parties. You love being the hostess with the mostest. So I thought about it. Yeah, so everything is connected, right? I started the fake restaurant when I was a kid. I was a hostess with the mostest. I love having parties. Years later, what did I do? I started a co-working space. Why? Because I love creating community. Started She Stories.
Sounds
Why?
like you like having people around, even from your Thanksgiving story as well.
I love it. So community is my calling. I love creating community. And that's a big part of everything that I do, from co-working to She Stories. It's all about me creating community. That's what I'm gifted to do. And I believe that's what I'm
Mm.
called to do because I've been successful in doing it. It's something that I just do naturally.
Yeah. And honestly, I want to point that out. You broke it down. So you said restaurants, now the She Stories, like the therapy and, mental health, but also all of that. But you broke it down and you really took it back down to community and getting people together and helping.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for us to kind of figure out what our core calling is. And
Yeah.
it has to be one of those simple things. So then we can find different things that we like to do. But the bottom line and that commonality, we do have to
Yes.
dig deep and find out what our calling is. And that's beautiful. Like, I love that you said that, because a lot of times people will say, oh, well, I like this, I like that. I could see myself doing like 10 different things. And I think that's okay. And a lot of people go through it. And I say, go for it, right? And if it works out, great. If not, then you try the next thing.
Right.
And you see like what you're really going to be happy about. And
Yes.
I just want to talk about your experience with the co-working space. So, and that's no longer going on, correct?
I closed it during the pandemic, like a lot of other co-working spaces.
Of course. So can you share that experience with us? Because for a lot of the entrepreneurs too, sometimes it's hard for them to think that, hey, something might end, or if something's not doing so well, they don't want to give up on it. Like, can you talk about your experience with how you started that, what it meant to you, and what was the process of kind of letting it go and focusing on your next thing?
Sure. Well, I started it probably, now that I look back at my journey of starting my co-working space, it was something that I was doing with a partner that the partnership didn't work out. So I began doing it solo by myself. And my mom had literally died a month before I opened. So now that I look back, I probably shouldn't have launched as soon as I did. I just want to put that right there, because I'm going to come back to that, to really making sure that everything is okay with you before you move forward in your entrepreneurship. You might need to take care of some mental health before you move forward.
Let's pause there. Let's pause there. I think that's lesson number one with doing anything in business. And I found that out with myself too. Like, I had kids recently, still having kids back to back. And sometimes without the sleep, I'm getting sick, all this stuff, especially the lack of sleep, it gets to you. And when your mental health is not there, it directly affects your business. So you do have to take time, slow things down, or find a way, to have people help you and cover things for you in order for you to be successful in your business too. So I think that's number one thing, is people think, okay, once I get the business, once I get the money, if I'm doing my dream job, I'm going to be happy. But that's really not how it works. That's why on this podcast too, we really focus on personal development as much as we talk about business and business development, because it's important for us to be in a really good space. That's how we're going to be able to have the successful business. If we're lacking in any area in our mental health, I really, really genuinely believe that things are just not going to work out. Even if you do the things the exact way, follow the book step by step, it just doesn't work out. It's an energy thing too. I really believe it.
Yeah, it's really so true. I think a lot of times, especially, as women, you have children. I had a daughter at that time. She was young, and we just give to everyone, and trying to build, people up and build, our partners up and build a business as well. And sometimes we neglect our physical health, and sometimes we neglect our mental health that can affect our physical health. It'll show up in our body. So, as an entrepreneur, I think it's very important for us to, check in on not just our business health, but also our physical and mental health.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you, but let's go back. Let's go back to
the co-working.
to the co-working.
To the co-working.
We're gonna pause that. So probably the timing of it too. If you need to reconsider your launching, maybe that's another lesson you learn, is it's okay to replan your launch date, or
It's okay to
postpone
push
things.
pause. You know what I mean? And maybe it's not the right time to launch. It doesn't mean that you're giving up on your dream or launching your business. It just means that you need to pause and take care of yourself so you can show up fully in your business. So I started the co-working space in 2016. It was a little boutique space. It was just me by myself. And along the way, as I was creating community and different people would come and join the space, I started making friendships and connections and thriving together. And some of the people that I created these relationships with back in 2017 that I'm still friends with today. So I started small. And then I jumped into another city, the city of my dreams, the city of PhDs and trees. And I was so excited. And then an opportunity for me to grow even larger came. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it. Get this bigger space and have these multiple offices and these conference rooms and all these other great things. And it was a really great
At that point, were you still doing your music business to make money to support your business?
Right. So I was still doing music services
Full
for
plate.
people. Serial entrepreneur here. I was serious. Okay, Yegi.
You really have to do it though. There's no way unless, if you're very lucky and you have family or friends or somebody to give you the money, you have to do it. And a lot of very successful people start out of nowhere. And that's just really what it takes. I think we don't talk about the ugly part of the beginning stage of entrepreneurship. You really got to do what it takes. You have to work the extra hours. You got to skip the parties. You got to neglect your friends and family maybe for a little bit, and get less quality time with your loved ones, which is unfortunate because we do want to also create that balance. Mental health is important, but you do have to do sacrifices. I don't see, like I said, unless you have a lot of financial support to starting off with, which a lot of entrepreneurs don't, it's almost impossible to just have it all in the beginning. It can get better where you have an amazing balance, but I think for most people in the beginning, you do have to still maybe keep that full-time job. You still maybe have to take gigs that maybe you don't love at that moment or do tasks that you don't enjoy for your business until you can hire people to help you with certain things.
Definitely. I had my music, business that I was doing that was supporting me. But even with the co-working space, because I started small, I did a really great job at looking at the numbers and saying, okay, well, how can I, create revenue to cover my lease, to cover my expenses? And I was able to do that. So I was very wise walking into knowing what I needed to do. Probably because I was a single mom and I had the mindset of you gotta take care of yourself, girl. What you gonna do?
I love that. It's the reality of it. You don't want to just start a business because you love it and then it makes no sense and you're not making any money, right? You got to sit down and do the numbers and do the planning and make sure that you're going to be able to at least cover your costs pretty short after you start the business or you're going to run out of money. And that's why a lot of businesses fail, right? We just need to really do the planning stage and then work hard, make sure it makes sense.
So true. So I did the numbers and things are great. And then I said, you know what, let me get, a bigger space. And I got a bigger space and it was amazing, impacted people, filled up all my offices, had renters, all those things were great. And then I had a new person that came in and he was a friend and he was a business consultant. And this is where things kind of got a little scary for me. So, when you start your business, this is your baby, right? You love your baby. I love my baby.
Yes, it's hard to let it go.
It's
or
hard to
trust
let it
other
go.
people with it.
Yes. And then when you have a business consultant that wants to come in and they're looking at your books and he's like, you know what, Amanda, you have a great idea. This is a great business, but there's some areas that you need to consider cutting back. Maybe you need to let some things go for the health of your business. And, instantly sometimes as entrepreneurs, when we have other people coming in and then, they're consulting us, we might get a little attitude, we get a little hurt about it. You know what I mean?
It's hard to accept feedback,
Yes.
especially when you think it's negative. It's technically it's constructive and we need to
Yes.
listen to it, but it is hard to take the emotion out. And I think that's the hardest thing I've learned, not
Mm-hmm.
to take things personally, because we're all doing our best in business, right? But we don't know what we don't know, and we don't see what we don't see. So it's very wise. I mean, I'm glad we're talking about it, to bring in
Mm-hmm.
a business consultant to see
Mm-hmm.
where are opportunities, where we can improve, where are, things that we need to cut back on. And
Yes.
I've always hated doing that. But it's part of it, right? Or else we do end up figuring things out, and maybe too late. We've already wasted too much money. There's no going back.
Yes, for sure. But it's great to have the
So did you
feedback.
hire your friend, or he was like, I'm gonna do this for you. So how did you even decide to let the consultant in to your like books and all that
Well,
information?
he was someone that walked into the space that just recently came from another country to move back to the States, and he needed a place to work. And we developed a friendship, and he, shared about who he was and his experience being a business consultant and the different companies that he's helped. And he said, I want to help you. I want to help you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so that's what happened. I didn't have to hire him. He offered his services to me for free, and he started opening up the books, and we started talking numbers and feedback, and I'm like dying on the inside and getting upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But, all things considered, Yegi, like I didn't have a business degree. I'm just a singer, a musician that had a really great idea, that knew nothing about business, that decided to start something that was really great. And during the time, I was one of probably 100 women in the world that even started a co-working
Wow.
space. So I was being a pioneer. I was a trailblazer, and I'm happy that I was able to even be that during that time. But I knew
Yeah.
nothing about business.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, honestly, that takes a lot. That takes a lot of courage to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go for it and figure it out. And I love that. Like, I'm a person who also jumps into things and be like, well, I'll figure it out, one step at a time. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't.
yeah,
But I've learned to ask for help. That was
yes,
also, I think, a big lesson I've learned is ask for help in areas that you're not good at. Like, you can't learn everything
yeah,
yourself. You can't be the best at every aspect of the business. Ask for help, hire for help, do all
mm-hmm.
that stuff, because or else you waste a lot of time. I think I've wasted a lot of time and energy trying to learn certain things where I should
Yes.
have just hired somebody to do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you learn your lessons along the way, because there is no playbook on how to start a business when you're jumping out for the first time. You just do it and you just figure it out. But with the help of my friend, I was able to look at the health of my business and like, oh, I need to make some changes. Maybe I need to, downsize. Maybe I need to find a new location. And then the pandemic hit, and people,
It really threw a lot of people off in a lot of different ways.
yeah, it hit out of nowhere. People were like, I don't want to work in office because I don't want to get COVID. So I'm just going to stay home. So, there goes the membership starting to decline. And I had to make a
Mm,
decision. I said, either I'm going to try to hold on because I don't know how long this pandemic is going to be. I don't have
yeah,
anyone
it was
paying.
very uncertain times. I remember that was tough.
Yeah, I have no one paying memberships, no one paying for a lease because they're not there, and they shouldn't have to pay, because why would you pay for something that you're not using? What am I going to do? How am I going to pay this lease and all this other expenses with what? I have no money coming in. So
Yeah.
I had to make a decision to let it go. And I
And
think
I bet that was one of the hardest decisions you ever had to make. You've built a baby, you've built it into like this great business, and now out of your control, it's not doing good. And what do? You hold on, you hope. When is it going to change? I could only imagine how difficult that decision was.
it was very hard. It hit my ego, it hit my pride. I felt like a failure because I couldn't hold on to something that I created, something that I have created in this community of people that I'm known for. When people see me, they
Mhm.
know I'm known for co-working still to this day. And so that killed
Yeah.
a big part of me, and I felt like a failure. And then you have the pandemic that happens, and then I'm in isolation by myself because I was living alone at the
Oh,
time. So
yeah.
you can imagine all the things that are running through my head, right?
Yeah, it's all negative. And around that time, everybody's just energy mindset. It was lonely, it was
Yes.
negative, the TV was negative, everything was negative. So going through something like that is very, very difficult. But
Yeah.
tell us more. How did you overcome it? So what happened next after saying, okay,
Jeez.
well, I can keep this going? I'm sure you went through a process of where you were feeling down, like you said, failure, all of that.
Mhm.
So what did you do to kind of get out of that and take your next steps into building something new?
Sure. So, I still had she stories, but we really couldn't do anything in person. So that was another, hit to my gut, and dealing with all of
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. I can only imagine the pain. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a really rough time. And then, I went through a breakup with this guy that I really loved. So it was just a lot going on. Yegi, a
Everything happens
lot.
when it rains. Yeah, when it rains, it really pours.
It was a tsunami in my life. Okay. How
Now you're talking about it and you're laughing about it. So for our listeners out there who are going through a rainstorm, a
Yes.
tsunami, it gets better. It
Yes.
does get better.
You may
Hang
be
on.
crying now, but over time, it will get better. I just want to encourage you with that moment right there. So during that time, I have a friend that owns a yoga studio. She was like, hey, do you want to become a yoga instructor because you work with women? It'll be a great tool in your toolbox. And I was like, I don't know about that, but I'm not doing anything because it's the pandemic. So sure.
It's like, okay, it was something to do.
Right. So I took this yoga teacher training. And I remember this
Okay.
experience where we were just laying on the mat. The room was dim and dark because at the time we were able to go to the studio like maybe once or twice during the training. The room was dark, it was dim, phone was away, didn't have any distractions. And I remember just sitting there having a moment of reflection, crying about all the stuff that I had experienced, just tears running down my face.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt, for me, I believe in God. So I just felt a divine connection with God and telling me that it's okay for me to pause, that I don't have to
Oh,
create
I love that.
anything. Yeah, that I don't have to create anything. Take care of yourself. The business will
Mm-hmm.
be there. Your influence will still be there. Your impact is there. Just take care of you first so that you can show up fully. And so that's what I did. That's how
I
I was
love
able to
that.
bounce back.
I love that. Something in you felt the peace that, hey, it's okay, it's gonna be fine. And I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think we all need to take those moments when things aren't going our way. And it's sometimes
Hmm.
hard to do that because we're just in our heads and you're able to connect with yourself and God
Yeah.
when you were silent, when everything was away to reflect. And I think we all need to kind of do that practice regularly to just
Hmm.
clear our head and see, okay, what's going on? What's really bothering me? What can I do? All that inner talk and voices and
Yeah.
everything that goes on to just kind of let it go.
Yeah. You can have more clarity, I think, when you take a moment to pause and to be still, because our minds are running
But we don't
everywhere,
do that.
Just pause, be
Yes.
still.
So many people, we don't do that. I realize like we just go, 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 one thing after the next. Even
Mm-hmm.
when we're driving, sometimes we're on the phone trying to figure something out, right? We're watching, even when we're trying to relax and watch TV, half the people are also on their phones. It's like, just relax, do one thing, take care of yourself. Like you're having
Yes.
breakfast or coffee, you can't just do that. You have to be connected somehow, you have to be doing something. And I've worked really hard on myself to let that go and not be a
Hmm.
multitasker. As before, I was so proud to call myself like I'm multitasking. I
Right.
can do 100 things at the same time, but it catches up to you.
It
Like I did
does.
kind of go through a burnout phase where I was like, that's it. Like first I'm slowing everything down. I'm taking care of myself and
Yes.
I'm going to do one thing at a time. Like no more. If I'm driving,
Good
I'm
for
just
you.
driving. If I'm eating, I'm just eating. Like
Yes.
this is needed.
It's so true. Good for you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's go back to your story. So everything was horrible. Things weren't going your way. COVID really ruined it all, but maybe that's what you needed. So now looking back, do
Yeah.
you see like why that happened? Because sometimes I like looking back and connecting the dots, or has that not happened yet? Like,
Oh yeah.
was there anything that you connect from all those experiences that have made your life better today?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think during that time that was a moment of evolution for me.
Wow, okay.
Yes, rebuilding myself and reimagining my gift or my calling. It doesn't have to look like that. You still can create community. It just doesn't have to be in a building. So during that time, I was
Mhm.
able to really see that during COVID. I was really able to pour into myself, really invest in myself and educate myself so that I can be able to serve in a different capacity, but still serve in the same community.
So the way you were able to get out of kind of that funk, I want to call it,
Yeah.
it was by educating yourself and growing and evolving as a
Yeah.
person.
And the moment when I said yes to myself to choose me, that's when some of the opportunities started to open for me. People started asking me to moderate events for them online. People asked me to speak and be on panels, and I had never even thought about, being a speaker. And so that opened up during the pandemic. So it was just a great moment of evolution, and I was able to evolve with confidence during that time.
Now, what does your life look like today? What is your day or week look like if somebody was to follow around the week?
Wow, it's amazing. Like if people were to follow me, they would see that I do two things that I love. They would follow me on Sundays, sometimes during the week that I'm singing and playing at some church, at some service, but then I'm also facilitating workshops online for women's empowerment, for personal development. That's what my life looks like now. And then also me mentoring young women that are single moms.
Are you able to make money off of the mentorship or the communities and
Yes.
online things? Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, everything is monetized. When I facilitate workshops, it's monetized. I do it every single month for one organization. I teach workshops on soul care. And then the mentors, the mentees that I have, they are also
I love
monetized as
that.
well.
I love that so much. I'm glad you were able to make, what suits or what feeds your soul. We were able
Yes.
to monetize it so you can actually do it and thrive and run with it and grow it and
Mm-hmm.
be able to make a lifestyle or living off of it. And I think that's kind of really important for our listeners because it is inspiring. Because half the time we're like, okay, well, I really love to do this, but how am I going to make money? Like, how am I going to survive? Like, if I put all my energy into this thing that I love to do, is there a
Mm-hmm.
way to make money? Like, how can
Yes.
I get creative with it?
I think that a lot of times that we don't think what we do effortlessly could make money. We're like questioning ourselves and second guessing, but it really can. You just need to sit down and how you talked about what is your core calling. Let's just say that if you made a tree with branches, and the root of the tree, the trunk of the tree would be the core calling that you have. So think about your branches. How else can I monetize community? Well, I can have storytelling events. Oh, or I can do group coaching. I can do one-off events, or I can do retreats or things that the options are endless, but you really have to sit down and think about how can I do what I love and make money from it? Because ain't nobody trying to be broke around here, Yegi.
No, we want to live. We want to live life. We want to enjoy life, right?
Yes.
We want to be happy to spread that happiness and that wonderful services that we provide.
Yes.
Now going back to that, since it is a entrepreneurship podcast, where did you go about marketing your services? I think a lot of people also have trouble in the beginning when they start a business in finding the clientele. Okay, I have this great idea, I have the platform, I set it up, I have all these great workshops, but why is no one signing up? Right? Like where do I find a clientele? So what were some of your marketing strategies to get those going, and what can
Sure.
you share with our listeners who are in the startup stage?
Sure. I think one of the first things that I did, especially when I rebranded what I offered to those folks out there, is that I had to actually show up online
What
beyond the
does that
post.
mean?
You actually have to show your face and talk.
Well, honestly, that's a hard thing to do at
Y-
first. Like, if you've never
Yes.
done that, that's a really hard thing to do at first. We're scared of cameras.
Yes.
We may have like insecurities in certain areas. And
Mm-hmm.
I have so many people I talk to that have that problem. So I love that you mentioned that. It sounds so simple. You're laughing,
I
but
know
it
it's
is
not.
a big hurdle. Yeah, it's a big hurdle we have to go through. Like, even today, sometimes for my business, because my main money maker business is my beauty business, right?
Uh-huh.
This podcast is more more like my side gig for fun. Even sometimes people ask me, okay, so why are you not going on there live anymore and doing these things? I'm like, I don't know why I'm not doing it. Like, am I not focused on it? Do I just not feel like it?
Right.
Like, it's easy for me. Like, I've even gotten used to kind of being on camera, but it's still challenging. Like, you feel like you have to plan for it. You feel like you still have to have your face on, your hair on, right?
Right.
All that stuff, and it holds us back. So
yeah, that is so true.
just like building that discipline and be like, okay, I'm gonna go on this day on this time, like it or not, rain or sunshine, I'm going on there, right? I'm gonna try to talk to people and connect with people online.
I think that's one of the hardest things is like really actually showing up on camera, because we think we have to be perfect. Our hair's not right, our makeup's not right. We stumble over our words.
Half the time people don't care. Yes, there are online bullies, but depending on the community you build, like hopefully you'll build a community of nice people. And if somebody says something that we don't like, we can just ignore it. We can block it. We can delete it. Like there is ways around it. It might hurt.
Yes.
I don't know. How do you feel about that? Like, I think that's I'm glad we're talking about it, because that's a big thing that holds people back. Because in today's day and age, a lot of the businesses, you're right. Like, you do have to show up. Yes. Show your face, maybe online, to try to find your community, to try to find the people that might connect with you and want your services. But if one thing that's holding people back is like, okay, how are people going to see me? Like, are they going to talk bad? Are they going to make comments that's going to hurt my soul? Like, do people even care about me? Like, if I go on here, is there anybody that's going to show up? Because I know these are thoughts that we all have and people have had in the past. What are your thoughts about that? How do you overcome those things and be like, okay, I'm just going to show up?
Showing up is hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's not easy for multiple reasons. But I think there's some things that you can do to help you to show up online on camera. If you need to have a friend in the room with you, that's why I'm really big on batching videos. I have a friend that we do content with all the time, and we'll sit up and we'll batch like 10, 15 videos. So if you have some fear of talking to a camera, because it seems like you're just talking to a camera, there's nobody out there, have a person with you that you can actually talk to them. That'll make it a little bit more comfortable. You have to do what you have to do to make it comfortable for you. So maybe on camera is not your thing, but you still, just try a little bit at a time. But maybe you can do some audio voiceovers to connect with your audience, because it's really about building community. We're not trying to get 10,000 followers, even though that will be great, but let's get a solid group of people that you can build community, that love what you do, that show up when you show up, that you can offer services that ultimately will be able to monetize and, build some income for you.
Yeah, I think that's a common mistake. I'm glad you said it. You're not trying to build thousands and thousands or hundreds of millions of followers. When it comes to business, you don't have to be an influencer, for example, or a celebrity, for example. When it comes to your business, like when you're building the community, you want those people to be your customers. Even you have like 10 quality people that are your customers, or 100 quality people that are your customers. That's the people you want to cater to. And those are the people that matter. Like, who cares if it's not thousands and millions of likes and follows? I think that's what holds people back, and they forget the fact that you don't need those people in your business if they're not going to support your business and shop with you, do your services, buy your products. You just want to cater to your community that's actually going to be your customers. Don't care about the numbers. And I think it is hard. It is intimidating in today's day and age, especially for a little bit the younger population. It's just such a thing. Yes. We forget that business is really a focused group of people who are your customers, not the millions of people that just are looking or liking, and they just don't matter. You're right. Even if you have 100 good people on there, that's all that matters. And I don't know, that's been my experience. I've never cared too much about the following. Sometimes I get in my head about it when you see competition, competitors, like people telling you things, and you start questioning it. Or the marketing companies, like if you're working with somebody, like they always talk about the numbers and this and that, and then you get in your head about it. You're like, maybe I should be doing more, maybe what's wrong? And then, but I have to remind myself all the time, like when I built my business in the beginning, there wasn't even barely any online presence. Like these were actual people, because I started off with the full service salon. These were actually people that would walk in, do the services, buy the products, and they would literally like be a good community of people through word of mouth. Everybody connected, and we were doing really, really good and making a lot of money. And there was maybe like 300 people on Instagram following our page. And it was not really like just the online presence. I think we forget, it is very important in today's day and age. I put an effort into it, a chunk of it, but it shouldn't be all of it, right? I think that's what discourages people, and people waste a lot of time just trying to build their online when they can be focusing on different aspects of marketing and growing a business.
That's so true. I mean, I often think about, there's two things I want to point out. Four C's, what you need. You need clarity on who you are. You need confidence in who you are and what you do.
Oh, I love these.
You need to be consistent, right? Because it's going to take time to build a business. Doesn't happen overnight. But then you also need to be concerned and focused on building community. Those 4 C's.
I love these.
And when you think about
clarity, community, right? No, say it again.
Confidence,
consistency,
and then community.
Clarity, confidence, consistency, and then which leads to building the community. I love that.
You have to. And I agree with you that we get so focused on digital marketing. There's other forms of marketing and we forget about them. We get so hyper focused on social media, but we have to think about us as our business as a football team, right? You're the quarterback, but we need all these other people on the team in order for you to run the play for the touchdown, right? That's the business. So, maybe the offense and defense, maybe there's digital marketing, maybe there's word of mouth, and then there's networking, and then there's print. I mean, there's podcasts now. We need to find different ways in order for us to market, if you are a personal brand, your business, to build your authority, establish your authority in different areas so that you can touch different markets in order to build your business.
Wonderfully said. Yes, honestly, the old school marketing things sometimes work better. Go get in front of people, talk to people, network, right? Now we are running short on time. I just realized, so I'll ask you the final questions. I know it's been so nice talking with you, but let me ask you the last final questions, and then maybe we could do a part 2 down the line, because it is nice to connect. For our listeners out there, so going through the ups and downs, starting a business, closing a business, starting a new business, focusing on growing it, monetizing it, through that whole process of ups and downs, what has been your top 3 lessons you've learned in business that you wish somebody would teach, that would have taught you, in advance? And what has been the top 3 lessons you've learned in your personal life that you wish somebody taught you when you were younger?
Top 3 is, if you build it, they will come. That's not true. That's not true. It takes time. You can't just throw a business out there and then think that people are going to support it, because it's going to take time for you to actually build the business. Number 2 is, make sure you are very clear on who you are and who you serve. And then the third one, I think, would be to be okay with failing.
Okay.
Because failure is going to happen. It's inevitable, but be okay with it.
Yes. Just look at it an angle where it's part of the process, instead of just you're failing and you're done.
Change your perspective. Yeah, for sure. And then what was the questions about personal?
The same. Top 3 lessons you've learned in personal life as you've grown up. And you wish you knew maybe when you were younger.
Sure. Just be you. Period.
What does that mean?
To not worry about what other people are doing, comparing yourself to others. Just love your unique self and show up as your unique self. Just be you.
I love that.
Yeah. Number 2, it's okay for you to pause and take care of yourself, because that's what's most important. And then number 3, it's okay for you to evolve.
Okay. Change is good.
Hey, guess what? Last week I might have been a musician, but moving forward I might be a coach, and that's fine, because that's just who I am. Yeah, I love that. Change, honestly, is one of those things that's inevitable, and yet we resist it. But once we learn to embrace it, it does serve us well. It does. And really quick before we go to the next question or end, it's like even in my rebrand, from me going to really pouring into women in confidence and empowerment to switching over to me really talking about being intentional about your rest. I was afraid of the rebrand. I was afraid to make the change. But the moment I did it, that's when the doors begin to open. And I have been talked to by so different many women that said, you know what, I'm so glad that you spoke about this because this has been something I've been dealing with for a long time and it resonates with my spirit. So
Wow.
don't be afraid to change and evolve.
Yes, tell us a little bit more about the rebrand because was it getting more specific for you or is it fully rebranding for what you were doing?
It was more of a deep dive, right? So
I
still helping
see.
women, empowering them, still talking about business, but really going a little bit deeper, helping women to see you need to be intentional about your rest. In order for
I
you to
see.
build an empire, you have to take care of yourself because if you don't, you will be serving people from an empty place. You'll have an empty well and you won't be having anything else to give to anyone. It's not going to happen.
I love that. Well, I'm happy you had the courage to do that. And I think
Yes.
you're right. It is difficult to even think about that. It's like people know me or see me as this person. It's like, what are they going to think? Are they going to think I'm not real to myself? Like, did I just
Right.
change overnight? Right. But it is okay. We're all human. We do change. Like some days I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this at all. And then some days I'm so excited. And then I need to sit down and I'm like, okay, what do I really want? Right.
Yeah.
And like you said, sit down, have clarity and figure out who you are because we
Yes.
do also evolve and change. And so what we do and the way we present things change. I mean, 5 years ago, my thoughts about certain things were totally different compared to
Mm.
today because I've learned and evolved and changed. So I love that you're sharing that and giving almost all of us the green light and the okay to do so.
Yes. You have permission. You can evolve. It's
Yes,
okay. We
dude,
all
it's your
evolve.
life, right? It's your life.
Right, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Now, to close, just tell us your last words of encouragement and where can people find you?
Sure. Oh my gosh. I just want to give you one thing of encouragement talking about rest. Rest isn't selfish, it isn't luxury, it's a necessity. And in order for you
Mm.
to build an empire, you have to take care of yourself. Yes.
And then
Yes.
where can people find you?
Sure. You can find me on all socials and my website, amandahramsey.com. And hopefully I will see some of y'all real soon.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners out there for tuning in. And until next time, feel free to reach out to both me and Amanda about anything that we spoke about. We're happy to connect and help you through your journey. But until next time, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.